right? But you don't want to argue. You don't want to sit there and argue with the client. And then it just turns out to be.
Sorry, I forgot to hit the record button. So yeah, it's so what you just said though was how much trust you put in that client up front going into it without that contract in place yet. Um,
Right.
and that's definitely a struggle. I think all of us struggle with that a little bit. So as I'm sure the scope of work is the Bible, but before you have that in place, what do you do? There's some agencies that don't do a damn thing. They don't lift a finger without a retainer or something like that, right?
Right. And half the time, some of those agencies don't even do the work properly.
Right. It's a catch-22 though, because when you go to a client, even if it's a big corporate client, and you go, well, we need $1,000 up front for us to do R&D, to do a deep dive discovery before we ever do anything. Um, there's pushback on that, right? Because they're like, well, how do we know you're even going to do anything for us? We give you $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever you're asking
Right.
for. It's usually not as big of a deal with a larger client as it is with a small mom and pop. There's definitely going to be pushback there. But what'll happen, and this has been a struggle for us this year, that we've really been trying to tighten up on, is all of the administration crap, all of the project management crap, all of the stuff that goes into a build that is not necessarily writing code, right? We've eaten a lot of hours on that just because we haven't been tight on making sure those are factored into these projects. And we struggle a little bit because we do some really big applications, right? We just got done doing a U.S. bank desktop application, and we're getting ready to do a second one for them. But then we also do smaller WordPress sites for, lawyers and stuff.
Right.
So it kind of runs a gambit. So on that big corporate thing, we can justify the storyboarding and the prototyping and the good deep R&Ds and stuff like that because there's a budget there, and you can go up front and say, okay, let's get started. Cut us whatever check up front, $1,000, $5,000, whatever it is, and then we'll start doing our R&D, and then we'll come back with a proposal and a strategy. You go to that lawyer or that dental clinic or something, and they're like, well, I don't really want to do that. Um, and honestly, we haven't done on these what I just call simple small WordPress builds. We don't a lot of times won't even do a mock-up going into it. We work with one of a consultant partner person, whatever, where he goes and we do all of his dev work for him. But we're doing $2,000 WordPress builds for him.
Yeah.
So there's no meat on the bone. We can't do a mock-up. We can't do any of that stuff. Honestly, it's not our responsibility anyway. It's his because that's his client, but he doesn't do them either. But that always bites you in the ass, right? Because I put in the SOW line items. We're going to do this page, this page, this page. We're going to have this functionality. We're going to put in this plugin. We're going to do this and that. But the design side always bites you in the ass. And I just had a call this morning about something like that where we're close to launch at week 5, and now they want to have a completely different design on some of the inner pages that's completely out of the flow anyway. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. There's no point to it. And
a lot of our contracts cover that part of it, where it's, okay, you get so many meetings with us to sit down and design and plan. And then there's 2 revisions.
Yep.
And, after that, there's a hefty charge for adding and changing.
Yeah, so our SOW does the exact same thing. We put in, I think it is 2 revisions here as well. We got to be real clear on what revisions are.
Yeah.
because revision is not a complete rebuild of the site again. And
Yeah.
this has happened. Some people think we will do that. We build a site and they go, you know what? I'm not digging it. Let's start over. Well, we get two revisions. No, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah. Brent
But
from BC Gurus, he has a pretty good it's a quote template, and it lines and defines.
we stole his proposal. We
Yeah, we
used
have that too.
Yeah, we use a customized version of his proposal. That's actually why we started this meeting thing for this group. I'm kind of taking a play out of what they do at their boot camp. I haven't gone through it. We thought about it real hard. The reason we didn't join it was I just don't think there's anything they're going to tell us at this point that we don't already know.
Right.
What I miss is this thing, this accountability thing, right? Where I sit down and I tell you and other members of the group every week that, hey, this was, a thing we want to work on, and knowing that I'm going to come back next week and have to talk to you guys and go, I didn't do it. It gives me a little bit of accountability. It looks like Joey said he's going to be here in 5 minutes, so he's on his way. Um, yeah, that was the whole idea of this, was just kind of a way to help each other stay accountable and help each other kind of grow a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of our projects are going overseas, and it's, one of the main things I stress to my clients is that's your data. If it's e-commerce, that's your data. If it's a program, a platform, it's your data. And it's sitting over there, and you can't get a hold of them until the middle of the night.
Well, the communication barrier is a big issue for that. And honestly, I mean, I won't say that they all suck, because there's some good
No.
developers over there, but it's pretty sketchy on what you're going to get back, if anything, half the time from those guys. So I guess what do you think you need to do, I guess, to tighten up on that then? What
Well, that's what, my husband and I, because he's in this with me, and we've been discussing it because, I mean, we lost our office in the flood,
hmm,
and that, house, everything. So we're kind of in the Dallas Conroe, back and forth type thing right now. And so we've got a lead generator thing, and I told him, I said, what we really need to sit down and do is relook at our creative draft, relook at our business plan, and just map out a flow that we're going to stick to. Because if not, I mean, it not only cost us money, but it cost, time from our designer. It
hmm.
costs time from our AdWords, to go through and do and analyze, these projects before we even take them on, because we cherry pick. We do cherry pick, and I do run, a Duns and Brads and this and that, but there's so many scams going on right now.
So are you, I guess, just to be clear, are you taking anything up front before you get into that R&D side of things, or
No, I've actually, I was going to ask you about that. I've never heard of that.
especially bigger agencies, like I said, they're not going to do anything. They're not even going to have a discussion unless you pop down some money up front. And we're listen, I would like to do that for everything. I can't. Uh, the $2,000 WordPress build, I can't do that.
Right.
I do, obviously I take money up front before we do a build and stuff, um, but there's just not enough meat on the bone to even do an R&D, a real one. So
Right.
it's, it is what it is. But
Well, they say 80% of design is research.
yeah, so I guess what size projects are you kind of, what's your average deal?
Our average deal that our projects start out, and that's because we always go with SEOing all the pages, make sure system pages are not indexed, and so forth. They run typically around 15,000, and we do in-house financing. E-commerce sites, of course, they go up from there, but we always have a client sign minimum of a 6-month contract if they're not e-commerce. And that's, at the end of that 6 months, if we're not, and it's more of a accountability thing of if they are more than welcome to take what we have already done if we're not finished and leave at that point if they're not satisfied. But we do require half down before we do start the design or any of that. But we do sit down with our clients and we pinpoint, some of the major areas, which a lot of it has to either do with content or SEO or, things not being properly organized within the websites.
So your size is good enough to ask somebody for money up front for R&D. So how many hours do you suppose, or cost, whatever, are you losing now for that R&D that you're doing that you're not getting paid for now? I guess put a number to that amount.
I would say about 8,000, 9,000. With large corporations. With small businesses, about a day's worth of work.
So I would at least ask for $500 up front. And the way you pitch that is, you do your initial consult with them, right? You sit down, you have your initial meeting, and you feel them
Mm.
out. Is this a client I want to work with? Is this a fit? Blah blah, that kind of stuff. And then say, listen, let us go ahead and get started on research, discovery, and actually laying out a strategy. And that's the key word to use on that is you're going, because you have to put a value to what you're going to do. When you tell them I'm just going to go research and I want money for that, it's a tougher sell. But when you go, I'm going to put a strategy together, right? I'm going to lay out here's what we want to do, the high level upfront stuff. Obviously we have to put in work to do that. It takes time. I have people I have to pay. They don't work for free. So, we need 500 up front to start that strategy process. And then what we'll do is we'll reconvene in a week or however long it's going to take you to do that R&D. And I'm going to lay out a full-blown strategy here for you with the direction we want to go. If it makes sense, you're not locked into anything at that point. Let's evaluate it. If it makes sense to everybody, then we'll move forward with putting a design together and blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, the real work. But if it's a large corporation where you think you're gonna spend five grand worth of time, effort, and resources just on R&D, then charge 5 grand. If they don't want to do it, then they won't. But eating 5 grand sucks. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
if
because
you wouldn't go to a factory and work $5,000 worth of hours for them without getting paid, right?
right, and that's one thing that we tell when we do run into businesses. They go, well, I can get it done for $200 or $300. Okay,
That's
well,
a
why
that's a
are you
trigger.
talking?
That is a trigger. Um, when anybody says, "Well, we can get this done for XYZ somewhere else," that is not my client. They
Yeah.
they see they see us as a commodity, not a value-based service. And if they
Hmm.
want to pick up a website off the shelf from Walmart, more power to them. I'm just not the guy. So, we had a guy in here. Listen, we're in a pretty rural area. I shouldn't say that. We're about half hour out of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. But our actual town where we live is really small. It's like, I don't know, 2,000 people maybe. Um, our office is right on the main highway here, right on the main drag in the middle of town. But when people come in here locally for a website, I, I think maybe we've done one or two from that. Uh, Almost always no, right? And we had a guy in here yesterday. He wanted a website for his church. I knew right away we weren't the guys to do it, but he said I told him what we were going to charge, and he said, "Well, I can get this done for $50 a month." And I'm like, "Well, there you go, problem solved." But yeah, I mean, I've got a handful of questions that I ask on my overhead up here. Um, designed to both weed out bad clients and to put their mindset into a service value based thing and not just the whole commodity thing. And based on those handful of questions, that's kind of how we determine if we're going to work with you or not. And those trigger words like that, well, my nephew can do this, or I can get this done for X amount. Yeah, those are definitely flags for walking away.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
You froze a while ago. I had to come back in.
Oh, all right. uh, where did you lose me at?
You're in the middle of the Twin Cities.
Oh, okay. Well, we're just outside of the Twin Cities. We're about half hour out, but our town is really small, where we actually live, and local people come in sometimes asking for websites, and obviously, we're never going to have budgets for them. Did I lose you again?
Nope, I'm
Oh,
here.
all right. But yeah, I was saying I've got a series of questions taped on my overhead that I ask people, on that initial call where it's designed to both put them in a value service based mindset as opposed to a commodity, and to weed out those bad people like that with those trigger words like, well, I can get this done for $50 a month somewhere, or whatever. Well, more power to you, go do that. um, so my key things I look for is, do you see us as a value based service?
Uh-huh.
We're not a commodity you pick up off the shelf at Walmart. If you're looking for that, go to Wix or whatever. The other thing is, I look, how much design control do we have? Because we've worked with clients in the past that think they're designers and they are not, and I'm not going to have them dictate to me every last little bit of it. No, we do white label dev with other agencies, and they have design teams, and we do that all the time. They send us
Uh-huh.
PSDs, we build their site. But if you're an end client and you're going to send me PDFs of drawings you did on a freaking napkin or something, and you want me to make a design from 1994, and it doesn't make any sense, I'm not going to do that. We walked away from a client last year because of that. They kept trying to dictate really poor design with no rhyme or reason to it, and we just give them their money back and said, no, we're not the guys. So that's a big thing I ask. How much design control do we have? I get it. We want to follow your design trends. We want you to have a say, but if you think you're a better designer than us, go build it yourself.
That's right. Steve Jobs says design is not design unless it's functional.
Exactly. Well, the thing I always tell clients is design without intent is just decoration, and we're not in the
Sound like my
decoration
professor
business.
now.
So yeah, I mean, look for the bad clients and get the hell away from them. And if you have a bad feeling about one going into it, even if they don't hit the criteria as a bad client, still walk away, because they will be. Um, it looks like we got a new guy. We got Chase in here. Hi, Chase.
Hit your
Joe.
mic.
Joe says he can't get in. We're going here. Hmm. All right. Anyway, so I guess back to the original thing we said here was, well, I don't know. I guess, what do you think on that, on charging up front to do that R&D,
I think
Tracy?
that's I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like your clients are big enough where, if they're serious about it, it doesn't have to be a fortune either. I mean, $500 is more than you're making now, even if it's a bigger client, but at least they're getting some skin in the game before you even get to that design trend. Because the other piece of it is, you're kind of factoring that all as part of the getting the sale process, right? Oh, this is just,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm guilty of this too, where I go, well, you got to spend money to make money. We got to put a little bit out there to get the business, but uh, at the end of the day, that's not really legit. If they're going to work with us, if they're going to be a good client, they're going to put $500 up front. You know, if you just make the case, tell them they're going to get that strategy value, right? You're in the strategy, you're putting in work, you got to pay your guys. They wouldn't do work for free.
Right.
So, you know, if I don't, if you approach it right, you do it right, I don't think there's a big pushback unless you're working with really small clients, and it doesn't sound like, you know, you're dealing with the barber shop down the street.
No, we have a specialized niche. Um, we stay in the automotive industry, and we try to stay with industries that we know for a fact are going to be around for a while, like construction, um, so forth. But we do a lot of automotive.
Yeah, well, and that's a good thing because that's Joe's still trying to get in here. That was his pain point that he's been trying to solve is until now he's been kind of shotgun blasting, right? Whatever he can get a hold of, and that's just not a good way to do it.
We
So he's
call we call those Rangers,
yeah,
like the
um,
Texas Rangers.
yep. So that's what he's trying to do is to figure out what he wants to niche into. And I think last week he had a pretty good plan. I think he wants to go focus on the medical field a little bit, and then it seemed like something else, and I don't remember what it was. But
Medical
um,
field's a good one right now. I don't know if you've noticed on mobile devices when you're searching, you'll see Google certified ads, and that's really towards the medical field are contractors that have to have license, and that you can only get that certified badge on your ad if the um, the agency that you're going through to place those ads are a Google partner,
mhm.
and it brings a
Yeah.
lot of value.
Well, yeah, the medical field is huge, and that's I think I mentioned earlier, we're getting ready to release a HIPAA compliant web form service. It's a SaaS, a software as a service. We have an API we put together. We have the BAA agreements and the HIPAA compliant stuff with Amazon AWS for storage and all that stuff. I've got the plugin, I've got the service all built. It's done. It's ready to go, but we got to get some liability coverage, additional E&O and stuff
Yeah,
on us before we release it to the wild, but it's what we're kind of estimating for this thing as far as revenue and subscriptions on this is huge. There's nobody doing it. We'll be the only players in the space, especially with a WordPress plugin. And we've got a list of people ready to go as soon as we release it. So,
Hey,
um,
fellas.
hey, is this Joe?
Yeah, I get to dial in because it wouldn't let me do it on my phone.
Huh. All right.
Yeah, I don't know
Well,
what this is about.
we got Chase in here, but we haven't heard anything from him yet. Gracie's been in here. She runs an agency out in Texas. Um, and we were just kind of talking about her big issue right now is that upfront R&D and legwork, not getting paid for that right now. And so we were kind of talking about her average client size is around 15 grand a project or whatever. And so I think where we're landing is she's going to start charging a little bit up front for the R&D. Um, so that's the catch up
Yeah,
to speed for you.
yeah, I
So
relate to that.
how's it all going on your end this week?
Well, I've been rolling out. I've been targeting some of the law firms and health industries that we talk. I'm I got a meeting tomorrow with a dentistry and decent size and two law firms later that week. So I'm scrambling right now. I'm trying to get. I'd like to have my proposals and whatnot nailed down before then, so I'm working all weekend and everything. And you know, I'm really trying to you know, sorry, I'm like doing 12 things at once. But I'm really trying to think how I can add some upsells into that. And I'm also looking for a partner agency for Facebook advertising with these specific clients because that's the need. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Got a lot to do.
Cool. You're starting to do that focus on. Sounds like you got a dental appointment coming up, and it's good.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
just
Here.
telling.
I'll be right back. I got another call. Hold on.
Okay.
So let me ask you, I mean, what's your best source of generating leads? We've been word of mouth. We have barely done any. We've done Facebook advertising, but that's about
Um,
it.
we're probably not the best people to ask for that. um, I, up until recently, we've primarily focused on white label dev for other agencies. That's kind of been our go-to. Um, this last year, we kind of made it a goal to start breaking out of that a little bit and go after some more direct clients. And my big thing this year was I really wanted to start putting in some recurring revenue streams because we start to plateau on that white label dev for other people because we don't usually get the maintenance contracts. We don't usually get that ongoing hosting or any of that stuff because that's the agency that we're working with is doing that stuff. Um, and so we've been trying to do some subscription-based direct client builds, smaller businesses for the most part, like $300 a month. We did get some of those on the books this year, but this plugin we're about to release, obviously it's a subscription-based thing, and I think that's really going to put us into a really good recurring revenue stream. But as far as back to your actual question, we've done some email campaigns. The beginning of this year, we did one blast and we pulled a few clients out of that. A little bit of word of mouth, and I
All
don't
right, I'm
know.
back. Sorry about that.
That goes to another issue I've had this year where I haven't had uh, I haven't done what I should do as far as marketing goes because what I've ended up doing this year was I would try real hard on the marketing thing for a few weeks and then we get swamped. And then I'd end up writing code all day, every day for 3 months. And then I'd go,
Right.
crap, I better go try to do some marketing again. And then I would do that and then swamped again. And so it's been really sketchy, really spotty as far as what I do for marketing here. Now, that has to change a little bit. And going forward, my goal is to carve out at least an hour a day dedicated to some type of marketing. One thing we're going to be doing for that is once we get our new website put up, we're perpetually rebuilding this website forever. But I want to start doing some content marketing still focused mostly towards the design web designer web developer niche, not so much, well, some on the white label market. I don't want to stop doing that, but also like with this plugin we're going to release, that's primarily geared towards WordPress developers or assemblers, right? Where they
Uh-huh.
have they like, let's say Joe gets this dental client, right, and they need the ability to submit web forms for patient intake, right?
Uh-huh.
So they need the HIPAA compliant thing. And so that would be our market now, web designers that work with the medical field. And so I want to start doing some content where we're, just putting stuff up about what goes into doing web forms for dental clinics, stuff like that, right? To just start try to get in front of those people a little bit. Facebook groups, obviously that's why I started this group. I tried joining other groups to get in front of our demographic, right? It's always be in front of your market, right?
Right.
You don't have to be selling to them, but you have to be in front of them. And my problem with those other groups was I couldn't get a word in edgewise over all the Indians, so we started our own.
Oh, I know. I seen that with that first person scene. I told my husband, I was like, hallelujah.
Yeah,
I was
we're
like,
not.
oh my God. Because I mean, I had seriously been thinking about it myself.
Yeah. Well,
And
but yeah, all of
Hey,
you. our demographic, right? Your other developers or designers, you're basically our market for the white label dev stuff. So
Yeah.
that's me doing marketing, I suppose. So
Hey, so quick related side note based on the HIPAA compliant plugin is I was actually talking to a contact in the industry I have just related to me, rolling that out, as a white label product, and she runs a dialysis clinic, and she was talking about to me about the feature of someone be like another service provider that they share medical records with, being able to perhaps being sent a PDF download link or something like that without it breaking the agreement. Is that something that you think's on the horizon, or something that you thought about?
well, here's a thing on that. We got to be really careful. Because we all have to have a BAA agreement with each other. So you go and you get the subscription from us, right? You have to sign a BAA with us. And then you turn around and you use that service on your client's website. You, in turn, need a BAA with them. Now, the way these BAAs are set up, they're kind of ambiguous, where us and any third-party partners, that we work with may have access to this. You agree to that. So it's ambiguous. It's a gray area. So technically, they could take that PDF that they generate from us, right? And that PDF is encrypted and password protected. So technically, it wouldn't be not HIPAA compliant to email that PDF. They would remain compliant as long as that PDF
Now,
is.
would they send a link, or would they send like the PDF itself as an attachment? Because
They would have to send the PDF itself, because what we do, we don't retain that PDF. Now, I changed our thing probably from the last time you saw it. We were retaining the PDF, but I decided that was not a good idea. So what happens when you I'll show you.
I can't see your screen. Remember, I'm dialed in.
Oh, god damn it. All right. Well, all right. Anyway, now what happens when you generate that PDF, you have to either save it or print it or something. Otherwise, when they get out of it, it's going to destroy it, because I don't want that information. I don't want those sitting on my server forever. So, but what they
So
can
they're
do
going to
is,
destroy it, and so it's no longer going to be a database of
well, it is. They
PDF.
still, well, no, it never was a database of PDFs. So you can still get all the form information from the web interface and all that stuff, because that's all still basically pulling from our data. The only way for that data to ever leave our system, though, is for them to generate that PDF and download it or print it. That's the only way it ever leaves us. And so, in your scenario,
Why did you decide to make that move?
well, because I don't want all those PDFs sitting on my server, because it seems like that opens me up to an extra layer of liability. Even though they're encrypted and password protected, there's no reason for us to hold hundreds of thousands of PDFs that will maybe never even be seen again. Now, as far as they're concerned, they still go into the back end in here. They can still search for these people. They can still see the actual form from the web interface. The only reason they really need that PDF is if they want to download that to have an electronic version on their system, or if they need to print it. That's really the only reason they need a PDF. But once they take that PDF, that is now their responsibility. That data is in their corner now. It's no longer ours. But going back to your original question, yes, they could email that. I probably wouldn't, but they could, and I don't think it would be not HIPAA compliant because it's encrypted and password protected.
Now, the transfer would have to be SSL, though. So however they transferred it to the other service provider, I mean,
Well,
I don't know if email is encrypted.
Well, see, in this particular case, since you're sending a PDF that itself is encrypted and password protected, if somebody intercepted that email, they still wouldn't be able to do anything with that PDF. And so technically, yes, they're HIPAA compliant if they just sent that even through Gmail or something. I wouldn't do that because that just seems unsafe to me. You know, I'm sketchy on somebody wanting to share that with a third party anyway. I don't want to have anything to do with that on my side. They're free to do whatever the hell they want on their side. It's their responsibility to make sure they're compliant at that point. We've done our job. We let the patient fill the form out, submit it, and store it safely. What they do with it when they grab it, that's on them.
Sure.
But
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, the PDFs are encrypted and password protected, so even emailing them technically would not get them popped by HIPAA. So I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. All right. Yeah, man. So I guess my biggest thing for this week that I kind of would like some input on is is doing these contracts. I mean, I think that I've set my contracts up in the past where I didn't fully think out every possible thing that could have happened, similar to what she was just talking about, right? Which is, not getting paid for things that I should have been, or you name it. And I don't know. I don't want to just sit down and do it the same way I've always done it. So I don't know. You guys have any pointers for me?
Do what he said. Is get the, get the, what do you call it again?
A retainer?
Yeah, get a retainer. If not, they're
Well, of
wasting
course.
time.
Yeah,
Right. I mean,
so you're going more into setting your SOW up though, and not thinking about covering your ass on the SOW all the way.
right.
Which is tough. I mean, it's tough to sit there and do a line item for every single little thing. But, we were just talking about Gracie and I, we both ripped our proposals from you gurus. And, so
Okay.
yeah, it works. It's good. I doctored it up, obviously, but,
Can you guys shoot me a link to the original?
Yeah, actually, I got it on my Google Drive because they gave it out. They give it out for free.
Oh, cool. Okay. And yeah, that's worked out for you?
You need to doctor it up.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you still need the SOW piece of it in there is a thing. If I remember right, I don't know that the actual proposal itself, the original, was real good on the SOW side, but no, I mean, I think Gracie and I both do, I think, 2 revisions. I think we call out. And you got to be you can't just say 2 revisions. You've got to be, a little bit more specific than that, because some people think a revision is, oh, let's start over and redo the site again.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just had to pull an SOW up yesterday for a project we're working on because all of a sudden they started sending us stuff for pages I've never heard of before, and our SOW says we're doing XYZ. There's no mention of this thing here, and they said, well, your SOW doesn't match our site map. I was like, well, A, I've never seen your site map, and B, we go off the SOW you signed. You signed it. If that should have been there, you should have called that out, because this is the first I've ever heard of it. And of course they want it done yesterday, But
Well, always. That's an assumption. You just got to assume that they want that.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, whenever you do the SOW, you just
after I signed.
yeah. Yeah, you just got to be able to go back to it and go, I'd be happy to do that extra page or that extra thing for you, but it wasn't part of the original agreement you signed, and we'll do it for XYZ. Now
do you set it up where you may have set rates for, like, okay, like, this is our SOW, this is what includes, in the case of additional this or this or this being paid, these are my rates for these
Yeah, we just
items.
say, we just say anything additional is at $70 an hour.
Okay.
You do it however you want. So,
Okay.
but yeah, just call it out that anything beyond this needs to be reassessed, and a new purchase
Requoted.
order or however you do it needs to be generated for it. Um, um, I should practice what I preach though, because after I did pull at SOW and went, well, this wasn't part of scope. We're still gonna fucking do it for free, so you know.
Now, here's the other thing is that I find myself really wishing I charged for is like I'll spend an entire day bouncing from meeting to meeting. And I'm wondering, like, should I be charging consulting fees for each one of these meetings?
I would. That's part of our agreement, our contract, that they get an hour or two a month, depending on their fee that they're paying for the monthly. Outside of
Mm-hmm.
that, anything outside of that, because we charge, and that's because we have found numerous companies that really think that they can hire a newbie to do what we do. So then they
Oh
start
yeah.
consulting, they start calling us for everything on consulting on, well, can you explain this or whatever? And think of your tactics as the KFC secret, it's secret.
Well, it just goes to all
Absolutely.
that. It goes to all that admin stuff that we were eating here too, that we were just doing and not getting paid for. Meetings, project management, upfront legwork, uh, all of that kind of crap. You can't. It's too hard to factor that into the overall prices of a project because you just don't know. Now, if you get into the maintenance side of things or the ongoing support side of things, that should be in your SOW as well of how you're going to handle how many calls or how many hours or what are you going to do for them going forward after the build's done or whatever. The
Yeah, I
expectation
mean,
has to be set there as well.
for me, I feel like if I want to price competitively, retainers are always a gamble because I never know. Okay, I may drop 500, 1,000 a month for just consulting, and I may even think like, wow, like that's gonna like definitely cover my bases, and then 2 weeks into it, I find holy crap, I've just spent 18 hours and just talking to these people and setting stuff up, and that's an exaggeration, obviously, but I mean, so do you guys find yourselves doing flat rates beyond the 2 hours, or like a monthly, or do you do a monthly retainer for consulting, or do you just do hourly?
Hourly here.
It
Yeah.
depends. It really depends, man. There's an argument to be said on both sides of that. Now, us personally, we're trying to break away from the hourly because it's hard though because we ran the gambit on that as well. We have a retainer with an agency we work with where we guarantee them 40 hours a month, and to do that, basically, we have to base all of our hours on hours. But the problem we run into with them, we just built an app for US Bank for these guys, right? I think I showed you that before, Joe.
Yeah.
They want to do a second one now. Well, of course, their mind directly goes to, well, we've already built that one. Let's just swap some things out. How much can we do that for? How many hours is that going to take? Well, but that's not really how I want to do that because if that first app was worth that much money to US Bank the first time, the second app should still be worth that same amount of money. I mean, just because I build an assembly line internally to make building a car faster doesn't mean that I'm going to charge a lower rate now because I only paid my employees this many hours. And so that's
Well, yeah,
that's
right. And
that's
and
the
what's the point
gamble.
of doing what's the point of doing a retainer if it's hourly based?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the whole.
I
When you
mean,
tell people, well, here's two problems with hourly. When you tell people my rate is $70 an hour. They go, holy shit, that's a lot of money. Well, yeah, it
Right,
sounds
right.
like a lot of money, but I got to pay the bills too, and at the end of the day, it's not. Um,
Mhm.
and B, it opens you up to, well, how fast can you do this? You know, I don't know.
Right,
I mean, it's always an estimate anyway, but
right.
sure, we
And
base projects on how many hours are going to be into it, but we also have to factor in the value. I mean, maybe look at this HipperForms plugin, right? Go back to that thing for a minute. I've got maybe 80 hours into that, but that thing is worth millions of dollars, right? It's not
can
worth
be, could
70
be
times 80.
potentially.
No, there's not even a
Right.
potentially. It is. There's. It's not worth what's 70 by 80. I can't even do the math, right? 800 by 7.
8
Um.
times 7.
So yeah,
64 minus 8.
yeah. So
So
anyway,
56.
it's worth a lot more than that, right? So why
Yeah.
should I charge somebody to build something like that? If I was doing that for somebody else, why should I charge that when it's going to make them maybe $1 million?
Well, right. And here's the thing too, is that if you have a client who, I mean, here's the thing, right, with the retainers, that where I see the opportunity with that, because I said that was a gamble, but in the same token, the opportunity with that is that if I can under my hours based on the retainer rate, well, then I'm making more per hour each month, depending on,
Listen,
and
the only downside to asking for that retainer is you run the risk of losing the business. Well, for me, in this point of the game, I'd rather just lose the business. I don't want to work for free anymore. I'm done with that.
yeah,
If you can't pay me for my time, I don't really want to work with you. I'm over all that.
absolutely, yeah,
I listen. I could go to McDonald's and work or something. I don't need it. So
yeah, right. So, yeah, okay. I'm gonna put a lot of thought into this. I think I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about us talking too deep into our proposals and contracts and SOWs and all that crap, but I think that with the goal of us all trying to build our businesses, for us to sit down, look at each point of those and say, okay, where are we losing money and where do we have opportunities to get paid what we're worth
I was,
is
I'd share my screen and show you one that we have, but you can't see my screen. So
well, we might have to just share the documents.
Gracie,
But
did you say you've got that on your Google Drive?
Gracie's MIA.
I think so. Yeah, if
Ah,
she's got,
I'm here.
there she is. You said you have that document on your Google Drive, that original proposal?
Yeah, yeah. It's either on my Google Drive. I've got 4 Google Drives. It's in one of those, or it's on my Mac.
Can you share that when you get a minute with Joe?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you want to just shoot it to my email?
yeah. Can you send it to me? Send me your email through Facebook.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after the call.
Okay.
I got one quick call I gotta make for at 3:30 here, so I'm gonna hop off for like 2 minutes. I'm gonna hop back on. Okay.
Well, I've got to hop off too. I haven't had lunch or breakfast.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
I hear you.
we probably better just call it here pretty soon, 'cause I got a bunch of stuff I got to get finished up too. But hey, I wanted to ask you before you get off here, how'd that meeting go with that guy from the group the other day? You were gonna meet he was down the road in New York somewhere, I think.
Oh, I don't know about him, man. He's potential VP funding, but he's hard to work with. He's just as hard to work with. He's just like
Hmm.
he's going through the whole questioning phase of, he wants to know that I'm capable. And I've tried to prove myself that I'm capable, but I can't like do work for him for free without,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, all right, well, whatever. I'm not really too worried. He's not on my priority list right now. But, if he hits me back up and he's like, yeah, I got a budget now and I'm willing to, I want to do that build, then I'm going to say, okay.
Potential VC funding, you said.
Right.
Yeah, that's usually
So,
a no. It's usually a no.
yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're the
I know.
dude that was in
I'm
here
not.
the other day. If you're that dude, then sure.
Yeah,
You know,
right. Yeah, I'll do it on good faith with that guy.
yeah,
But look, yeah, I got 19 million last year. You know,
yeah.
holy shit, man, that doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, it helps when you live in Menlo fucking Park too, so or close to it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
Well,
man.
we'll
Let's
see.
let's let's call it. Gracie, what are you gonna work on? You're gonna work on putting together that retainer.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, soon when my husband gets back from lunch, he better hurry up. Uh, yeah, I'm going to sit down and talk to him and, tell him because I know we've talked about, I think we talked about it about 4 or 5 years ago. And we, didn't think we needed it after a while. And now that you bring it up, I'm going, there's our missing link. That's our missing link.
Yeah, I think so. Joe, what are you gonna be working on? Just getting that first dental nicher.
Contracts, getting these clients. I got stuff for other clients too. I mean, I'm heavy hit, but main priorities are getting these clients, and what goes into that is setting up those proposals right and going in with guns loaded.
Sure. All right. I'm just gonna work on getting this damn plugin out. So
Yeah, I do it because I want to try. I mean, I'd like to if I set the contract up with the dentistry for a new build by mid-January, uh, I'd
hey,
like to be able to
that's
sell that.
FYI, that's gonna be ready for you to download today. Um, I'm gonna have a coupon code ready for you to go check out and get the beta version for free. Don't use it for production, but
Right. But is
it's
that
ready.
something that I can sell? And I'd like to know that the features aren't going to change too much, so that when I sell them, I don't have to be like, oh, by the way, those PDFs are no longer going to be hosted. You know what I mean? Like in case I try and
Oh.
sell it as, you know what I mean?
I
So
I don't think the actual core functionality of this is going to change hardly at all. It really can't because I've got to stay as compliant as possible and as protected as possible. And that's, I mean, there was two reasons I had to backtrack on that particular idea. Is A, I don't want to store. I don't want to
sure.
pay to store all these things that are unneeded, and I don't want the liability of those because at the end of the day, the database super secured. All that data is encrypted and stuff anyway, super secure. But with all of these sitting in a directory on our server, which they have to have a link to download from, it just seems like that's too much liability, and I don't need it. So, and there's no
Yeah.
reason
No, I
for it.
get
There's
it.
just not a
I
point.
get it. Absolutely. But so yeah, but I'm basically gonna, because I want to tie actually that into some of his review management that he's interested in also, and I can tell you a little bit about my idea on that another time. But yeah, okay. So as long as I know, I'm gonna check that out this weekend too, so I just have a good idea of what I want to hit him with Monday. And
Okay,
all right, cool. Yeah.
sounds good. Catch you guys later.
All
All
right, later.
right. Later.
Yeah.